Come on, bitch. Come on, move. Let her hair go.
On a quiet Sunday morning in February 2026, Asia Stewart, a 26-year-old devoted mother of 4, would make a choice that would forever alter the course of her family's life. After working a grueling 16-hour security shift, she was finally ready to collapse into bed. But just as she was about to rest, a call came in that would shatter her peace. Her friend was in trouble, and Asia, loyal to a fault, couldn't ignore the call for help. What followed were a series of split-second decisions, each one leading her down a path of escalating danger. What should have been a quick, simple resolution spiraled out of control, resulting in a deadly confrontation that would claim Asia's life and leave her family in ruins. In that fleeting moment, when most would have chosen to rest, Asia made a decision that would be her last. She chose family. What began as a simple attempt to mediate a fight between friends and family quickly escalated to something far darker. In an instant, a gunshot rang out, and Asia Stewart was gone. What drove a peaceful family dispute to such extremes, and how far can loyalty take us before it leads to irreversible consequences? To understand the horror that unfolded, we first have to go back to the beginning and how it all started.
This run deep. We don't need the KKK no more. We it ourselves. We ourselves some other. We would be extinct pretty soon. Black people, and we wonder why we so low on the totem pole. Y'all think y'all really out here popping y'all shit with y'all designer this, designer that, and this and that, that and this. When in actuality as a whole, we are poor mentally and emotionally.
Asia Stewart was born on July 24, 1997 in Houston, Texas. She was a young woman, just 26 years old, when her life was tragically cut short by an avoidable altercation. Asia came from a family that valued love, loyalty, and responsibility. Raised by her father, Carlton Stewart, she learned the importance of thinking before acting and of handling conflicts through communication, not violence. Despite her father's lessons, Asia was fiercely protective of the people she loved, and this would ultimately lead her into a dangerous situation that she couldn't walk away from. She was a mother of 4 young children, aged 11, 8, 6, and 3. Her children were the center of her world, and she was determined to provide for them, working long hours and doing everything she could to ensure their well-being. For her children, Asia was more than a mother. She was their rock, their source of warmth and stability in a world that seemed far too big and overwhelming for them. Asia grew up in Houston, Texas, a city that is as diverse as it is sprawling. Houston, Texas is a place known for its hard-working people, its tight-knit communities, and its many challenges. Asia was no stranger to those challenges. Her family did their best to make ends meet, and Asia followed suit, focusing on the things that mattered most to her children, and her own personal growth. Though there isn't much public information about her education, Asia's journey was about survival and determination. She worked hard to take care of her kids and build a future for them, but she also had a vibrant personality that made her stand out. To her friends and family, she was the spark in every room, a woman whose infectious personality lit up social media with silly videos and genuine laughter. Asia had a way of making even the darkest days feel lighter. Her humor, her warmth, and her authenticity drew people in effortlessly.
If you see what I see, then that means it's just him, you, she locking me. Okay, blah, 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 blah.
What are y'all doing over there?
We are down here dancing.
Come on, let's dance. Turn it up.
Are you gonna dance with us?
Yeah, come on.
Let's go.
Come on.
Are you going?
She was the glue that held her circle together. Asia's presence was magnetic. Her laughter wasn't just heard, it was felt, echoing through the hearts of those who loved her. Beyond her vibrant personality, Asia was a devoted mother, balancing the challenges of raising her children with the joy of watching them grow. Friends often described her as fiercely protective, someone who would do anything to ensure her kids had the love and stability they deserved. Asia worked as a security guard, a demanding job that required her to stay alert and on her feet for long shifts. She was committed to her job, and despite the exhaustion it brought, she did it for her kids. Security work isn't easy. It often means dealing with late hours and dangerous situations, and Asia had done it for years. Her work ethic wasn't just about putting food on the table, it was about setting an example for her kids. She wanted them to know the value of hard work and perseverance. But on that fateful night in February 2026, Asia's work schedule collided with the needs of her family, and she made a decision that would forever alter the course of her life and their lives. In the early hours of February 8, 2026, Asia Stewart had just finished a 16-hour security shift. Physically drained, she was looking forward to going home to rest. But just as she was about to rest, a call came in that would shatter her peace. Her friend was in trouble, and Asia, loyal to a fault, couldn't ignore the call for help. According to police and witness statements, tensions had been escalating between several women at the Wesley Square apartments in the Sunnyside neighborhood in Houston for several days. What started as a petty dispute among friends had turned into a full-blown confrontation, and Asia's sister found herself caught in the middle of it. Asia's loyalty to her family led her to make a choice that many might find hard to understand. She drove to the apartment complex in the dead of night, hoping to calm things down and be the voice of reason. When Asia arrived at the complex, the situation was already chaotic. A crowd had gathered, and emotions were running high. It seemed both sides had supporters and bystanders rooting for them. Asia was trying to do what her father had taught her: de-escalate the situation. She wasn't there to fight, she was there to resolve the conflict. But things quickly spiraled out of control. Among those in the crowd was 25-year-old Dasha Wilmore, who had come to support her friend in the dispute. Dasha, who had been seen earlier with a handgun tucked into her waistband, was allegedly threatening to shoot anyone who touched her friend. Witnesses later stated that when the situation got physical, Asia attempted to break up the fight. In an act of self-defense, she swung at Dasha to push her away. But Dasha, armed with a gun, responded with violence. She pulled out the firearm and fired at Asia from close range. The bullet struck Asia in the abdomen. Asia collapsed in the parking lot, and as she lay there, witnesses rushed to help, trying to get her into a car to take her to the hospital. The urgency of the situation was visible, but it was too late. Asia Stewart was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital.
Come on, bitch.
Come on, move. Let her hair go.
Unapologetically, Dasha Wilmore didn't stop there. As she fled the scene in her car, she allegedly fired more rounds into the direction of bystanders. Fortunately, no one else was hit, but the damage was already done. Asia Stewart, a mother of 4, was gone, and her family would never be the same. The shocking of Asia Stewart's shooting shocked not just her family, but the entire Houston community. The situation had escalated so quickly from a simple dispute to a life-ending tragedy. But the fallout wasn't just about one mother's death. It was about the failure of a community to come together and resolve conflict peacefully, and the deep scars left on a family who had already lost so much.
Breaking overnight on Houston's south side, police are investigating a deadly shooting at an apartment complex. Houston police say an argument between 2 women turned violent, leaving 1 woman. Michelle Troy joins us live this morning from HPD headquarters with what we know so far. Good morning, Michelle. What are you learning?
Hey there, Trayson. Well, HPD homicide detectives are continuing to piece together what exactly happened at an apartment complex on Houston's south side. Let's take you to some overnight video. Houston police say the happened at Wesley Square Apartments along Calhoun Road just before 12:45 this morning. Now, according to police, 2 adult women got into an argument that escalated into an altercation, and police say 1 woman pulled out a gun and shot the other. Investigators tell us the woman who was shot managed to get herself to a nearby hospital, but she later died from her injuries. Police say the suspect left the scene before officers arrived. Overnight, homicide detectives and crime scene units processed the area, collecting evidence and canvassing for information. At this point, police say they do not know the relationship between the two women or whether either of them lived at the apartment complex. Now, we understand that police cleared the scene just before 6 this morning. Detectives are now working to interview a potential witness and are continuing to look for surveillance video to try and identify that suspect. They are asking anyone with information to contact HPD. Trayson.
As the police began their investigation, the details that emerged painted a picture of misplaced loyalty, intense emotions, and irreversible consequences. After Asia was rushed to the hospital, the police investigation began in earnest. Thanks to a witness who had followed Dazia's car to a nearby gas station, the authorities were able to apprehend Dazia Wilmore without incident. The 25-year-old woman who had allegedly pulled the trigger on Asia was arrested and charged with murder. The violent nature of the altercation left investigators with little room for ambiguity.
An arrest has been made in the fatal of a mother of 4 at an apartment complex in Sunnyside. 25-year-old Deja Wilmore is in custody, charged with the murder of Asia Stewart. Sherman DeSalle has been following this, and he is joining us live from HPD headquarters with an exclusive interview with the victim's father, who's telling us he wishes a calmer path had been taken before the Sherman.
Yeah, good evening, Caroline. So we did get a hold of some court documents. They reveal that the violence came from actually a multi-day fight involving several women, and witnesses say that Asia Stewart was not involved in this fight. She only went there to de-escalate the situation because it involved her sister. So we spoke earlier exclusively with Carlton Stewart, the father of the victim, right at the spot where his daughter was. And there's a growing memorial for her at the Westview Square Apartments on Calhoun. Court docs read that Sunday night, as the women were fighting, witnesses heard Wilmore, armed with a gun, shout, "If you touch my friend, I'll shoot you," towards another woman involved. And as Stewart tried to de-escalate the fight, that's when the witnesses say Wilmore shoved Stewart. And as Stewart swung at her, police say Wilmore shot Stewart at close range before fleeing the scene.
I know in my heart of hearts that even though she came to help her sister and talk to get the situation resolved, her mind, my voice was there telling her she needed to be home. But for the love of her sister, love of her sibling, which everybody's guilty of that, she came. Sure. She came, but she didn't come with no violence. Asia had worked a 16-hour shift previous to coming over here.
And so at this hour, Deja Wilmore currently being held in the Harris County Jail on a charge. She is set to appear in court tomorrow. Reporting from downtown, Sherman DeSalle, Fox 26 News.
As they interviewed Dazia, she claimed self-defense, saying that she had felt threatened during the confrontation and had fired in response to Asia swinging at her. However, the evidence and witness accounts told a different story. Dazia was reportedly seen with a handgun before the fight even started, and she had made threats earlier in the evening to shoot anyone who approached her friend. Her actions, which escalated the situation, ultimately led to Asia's death. The charges against Dazia Wilmore were clear: first-degree murder. She had knowingly armed herself and came to the scene not to de-escalate, but to defend her friend with violence. The fact that she fired at close range, resulting in Asia's fatal injury, meant there was little question about her intentions. Witnesses at the scene were crucial in painting a clearer picture of what happened in the moments leading up to the shooting. The details were heartbreaking. As the crowd gathered and the confrontation between the women escalated, Asia Stewart attempted to step in and stop the fight. Her intentions were pure. She was trying to stop the violence. But what followed was a brutal act of self-defense gone wrong. Witnesses reported that Dazia had aggressively approached Asia, and when Asia swung at her in an attempt to push her back, Dazia responded by drawing her gun and firing directly at Asia's abdomen. As Asia collapsed, what was more unsettling for detectives was what Dazia did next. She didn't stop to help Asia. Instead, she fled the scene in her vehicle, allegedly firing more shots toward bystanders, though fortunately no one else was injured. The testimonies from the witnesses illustrated how quickly the situation escalated and how one wrong move, no violent reaction, ended a mother's life. There was no time for reason. The emotional energy in the crowd overwhelmed any chance for calm. Aisha's tragic death has left a huge hole in the hearts of her family, especially her 4 young children. Her father, Carlton Stewart, has been vocal in the wake of his daughter's passing, expressing deep sorrow and frustration. In an emotional post on social media, Carlton spoke about the lack of conflict resolution in his community and the violent culture that seems to dominate everyday life. His pain was evident as he mourned the loss of his daughter while also contemplating the future of her children. Carlton shared his thoughts on the lack of proper conflict resolution being taught to the younger generation. He expressed profound sadness at the thought that children growing up today might only learn how to react with violence instead of resolving differences with words. For Carlton, Aisha's death was a bitter reminder that many of the younger generation, including his own daughter, had never been taught how to properly handle conflict in a peaceful manner. In his social media post, he asked a poignant question. This was more than a question about Aisha's death. It was a challenge to a broken system, one that allowed emotions to dictate dangerous outcomes. Despite his sorrow, Carlton made it clear he wasn't harboring hate for the people involved. Instead, he wanted accountability. He expressed that the situation could have been avoided if those involved had acted with restraint, if they had intervened to break up the violence rather than fuel it.
I'm not going to say it's a good morning because it's not a good morning. I'm heartbroken. My heart has been ripped from my chest. But the incident surrounding my daughter, Aisha Stewart, and her, I hear a lot of stories. Most are not true. Most have been twisted. But again, those are stories. Stories are made to be twisted and fabricated to whatever the person that's telling it is telling it. That's how they're telling it. I get that. But my biggest question to everybody is, and this is something that stemmed from Aisha's whole family, how do y'all expect kids to have conflict resolution when they grow up and see their parents not being able to have conflict resolution or problem solving or be in situations and know how to go about handling a situation properly? How do we expect for these kids to handle situations and know how to maneuver in certain rooms and certain things when most of y'all don't know how to do it? Answer that for me. If you're my friend and you're on this Facebook and you see this post, answer that for me. But at the same time, share this. This needs to be put out there because a lot of these kids are moving with no knowledge of nothing. They've seen their mamas scream at the top of their voice or yell at them. They've seen their daddy yell at the top of their voice. They've seen things that they should have seen and heard things that they shouldn't have heard. It wasn't taught things that they need to have been taught. So naturally they grab and they just do what they do without knowing the consequences, without knowing how to problem solve or conflict resolution. Because this problem that took place, this instance that took place, could have easily been solved. We had adults out there in my age group that sit there and was gonna watch kids fight. I see it so much on so many times on so many social media platforms where when a fight break out, adults, grown adults, run to the fight. They don't run to the fight to break it up. They don't run to the fight to say y'all wrong. They run to the fight to watch, the fight to record, the fight to record, and then hear everybody go crying when somebody. We praise John we praise such and such, whatever girl. I'm not gonna call the girl that my baby name out. I'm gonna give her family grace, even though she didn't get mine grace. We praise them, oh, they kill us. We didn't just lose Asia today. We lost this little girl too. Her mama lost a child. That little girl baby finna lose a mama. This run deep. We don't need the KKK no more. We kill ourselves. We kill ourselves some other. We would be extinct pretty soon, black people, and we wonder why we so low on the totem pole. Y'all think y'all really out here popping y'all shit with y'all designer this, designer that, and this and that, that and this, when in actuality as a whole, we are poor mentally and emotionally. How can we're not rearing up these children right? I stayed on mine. Asia went over there to Western Square, but you better know in the back of Asia's mind, my mother voice was in her mother ear telling her to stop running over there to Western Square. But at the same time, I understand the love my child had for her sister took her over there. And I'm not mad at Brittany. I'm not mad at the girl that killed my baby. I'm not mad at the person that called my baby over there. I'm not mad. I'm hurt from every single soul that was in Western Square, that was in that circle. I'm mad. I'm hurt because this could have worked out a better way. And if you know me, you know I never stood on the side of motherfucking wrong. When Asia was wrong, she was wrong. When she was right, she was right. I didn't give a. And to the people that was out there, i.e. her sister, her cousins, they know me. They know my heart. And they know what I stood for. And I definitely didn't stand for this because had I been out there, it wouldn't have been no fighting. I would have whipped Asia's ass. I would have broke Asia's motherfucking jaw. I would have broke Brittany's jaw. I would have broke Misha's jaw. Mine, I would have been kicking ass. I wish the fuck y'all would be out here fighting. Y'all better get the mother in this truck. And anybody know me know I'm not telling no lies. I would have kicked some ass out there. It wouldn't have been no motherfucking fighting. I'm that grown up that don't play that shit. But y'all ask y'allself that. How can these kids be successful and be able to solve problems and not reach for and not want to throw fists and beat on their fellow sister and brother when they've never been taught these things? They've never seen these things.
The loss was devastating, and Carlton knew that no court decision would bring Aisha back, but he wanted the justice system to address what had happened. The grief of Aisha's family was compounded by the fact that her children were now without their mother. Aisha's loss would change their lives forever. Her kids, ages 11, 8, 6, and 3, would grow up without their guiding force, the woman who had worked tirelessly to provide for them and give them a sense of stability in the world. The heartache of losing a mother at such a young age would shape their futures in ways unimaginable. A balloon release was held in her memory, an emotional ceremony that allowed friends and family to honor the young mother's life and share their sorrow. In that moment, they weren't just grieving her loss, they were mourning the impact of violence on their lives and the loss of a woman who had so much more to offer the world. The case sparked difficult conversations within the community about the culture of violence, especially among young women. The cycle of conflict that turned an argument into a fatal encounter was a stark reminder of how fragile life could be. And as Aisha's family wrestled with the pain of her death, they also hoped that her story would be a wake-up call to others, one that would encourage a shift toward healthier, more peaceful ways of resolving differences. As Aisha's family continued to mourn, Dasja Wilmore was facing the legal consequences of her actions. After her arrest, she was held without bail, and the Harris County District Attorney's Office moved quickly to charge her with murder in the first degree. The prosecution would argue that Dasja Wilmore had come to the scene with a weapon, made threats, and escalated the conflict with deadly consequences. The legal process would unfold in the coming months, but for now, the focus was on the painful reality that Aisha was gone. Wilmore's defense claimed self-defense, arguing that she had acted out of fear for her safety. However, the evidence showed that she was armed and made threatening statements long before the altercation turned physical. The challenge for the court would be to determine if Dasja Wilmore's actions were truly an act of self-defense, or if they had been fueled by aggression and misplaced loyalty to her friend. Aisha's family, particularly her father, expressed that they wanted justice, not revenge. Carlton Stewart said that while the situation could have been resolved in many different ways, the tragic outcome could have been avoided with better choices from those involved. The cycle of violence needed to stop, and his daughter's death served as a painful reminder of how quickly things can spiral out of control. As Aisha Stewart's family navigated the deep sorrow of losing her, the legal system began to take its course. The proceedings surrounding the tragic events that took her life would determine not only the fate of Dasja Wilmore, but also the larger conversation about violence in communities and how conflicts are handled. In the aftermath of the shooting, the community was left to grapple with the violence that had claimed another life, especially in the Sunnyside neighborhood where Aisha had grown up. The details of the altercation, fueled by anger and misunderstandings, were a stark reminder of how quickly a situation could escalate when emotions run high and there are no clear solutions for conflict resolution. The tragedy ignited conversations about gun violence, especially among young people, and how easily disputes can turn deadly. The case underscored the cultural norm of resorting to violence when faced with conflict, something that was compounded by the availability of firearms in tense situations. Aisha's death prompted discussions not just in Houston, but across the nation. Her story was shared widely, and many took to social media to express their shock and frustration over the senseless nature of her death. People from all walks of life reflected on the need for better conflict resolution education and more significant efforts to reduce violence, especially among women. The tragic irony of Aisha trying to de-escalate a fight only to become its victim left many questioning the systems in place to protect people from this kind of violence. Her death also raised awareness about the mental and emotional toll of violence in families. Aisha had been a mother who worked tirelessly to provide for her children. The loss of their mother would leave a lifelong impact on them, and her family's struggle to understand how things could have been different became a story shared by many. As the case progresses towards trial, the emotional wounds left on Aisha's family will continue to affect them, but their resolve to ensure justice for her remains strong. The trauma of losing a loved one in such a violent way is something that doesn't go away, but Aisha's father, Carlton Stewart, has made it clear that he is determined to seek justice not just for his daughter, but for all the families impacted by senseless violence. His advocacy for accountability, for teaching younger generations better ways to resolve conflicts, and for standing against the glorification of violence remains at the forefront of his mission. Aisha Stewart's death serves as a cautionary tale about the fragile line between helping someone and becoming a victim yourself. The split-second decision to drive to Wesley Square Apartments, despite her exhaustion, led to her untimely death. It was a tragic reminder that even the best intentions can have catastrophic consequences when emotions are running high and when violence lurks just beneath the surface. Her death highlights the importance of conflict resolution and how much work remains to be done in communities to teach healthy ways to handle disagreements. The legacy of Aisha's story is one of loss, but it is also a call to action, a plea for all of us to think before we act, to choose peace over violence, and to do better for the next generation. Aisha's story will not be forgotten, and as Aisha's family continues to mourn, they also hope that her death will inspire change, that it will lead to fewer tragedies, fewer families torn apart, and a future where violence is no longer the answer. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below, and if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.